Hi, Blastpop here. Today I'm taking a look at Nemo's War by Victory Point Games, designed by Chris Taylor. This is the second edition. It is the full mounted board, full boxed version, unlike the earlier first edition, which was published in a baggie with an unmounted map. Not to denigrate the first edition, it was a great game. This is by Victory Point Games, a company which was recently purchased and subsequently closed down as of the video. That aside, you have a nice box. Appears to be about a 3-inch thick box. Plenty of room to store the game components in it. Fairly strong construction. And on the back, tells you a little bit about 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and interestingly mentions about the fact that this is available in Project Gutenberg for free for download for the book for those interested in reading it. And also, I think has something to do with the fact that Disney Studios also has certain rights to some of this history, so they're probably establishing that it's in the public domain. Inside the box, I've taken the liberty to remove the contents. There's one nice plastic tray to store your components. Included are a deck of cards, and actually there's several different items. There's your co-op roll cards for your co-op version of the game, upgrades to the Nautilus, and then your various adventures. Several of those. On the adventure side, you can see a picture, some information, flavor text, and then the test and what happens if you pass and such. Cards you keep, cards you play. As the game goes on, you can upgrade the Nautilus. And sorry if I said Poseidon before, but I meant to say Nautilus. And then if you're playing multiplayer cooperative, you've got various roles that the players play to cooperate with each other. Interestingly, I have two pursers here, but they are different cards. They're numbered differently. So those are the cards. 5 dice, 3 white and 2 black. A miniature of the Nautilus. Okay. Nice. Nothing super special though. Gems. Little cubes and 2 specifically custom-made little blocks. That aside, we have the rules. Now the rules, I think, are a real treat in this game. They're very nicely done, and I think maybe one of the nicest set of rules I've ever seen in terms of illustration and an effort to have you learn the game. Having said that, everybody does learn a little bit differently, but I think almost no one should have any difficulty who's a gamer learning this. Tells you all the values, nicely color illustrated. The ship counters or tokens are all illustrated here. And then navies in the age of steam to set the tone, because things were very different then as compared to the modern nuclear era. Your game setup, more information about the various components included in the game, how to create your draw pile for preparation for play, actual game setup and preparation, and what a suggested setup might look on your game table. Definitions and conventions, basically the basic information you need to know how to play the game so that when you read the rules, they actually hopefully fall into place and make greater sense to you. Another sequence of play, events, and tests, how you make your tests. More information. Very nicely done. The pages are sumptuous, in my opinion, in terms of presentation, but not overbearing either. There's plenty of information to be consumed, but there's enough pictures and illustrations and examples to help that process along. Lull turns, placing treasure, removing uprising cubes, adventure, bold attacks, incite, refit, repair, combat, search, sunken ships and salvage, how the Nautilus attacks other ships, and then combat example. Now this has got to be one of the greatest examples I've seen in terms of illustration and pointing out of any game I've seen in recent times at the very least. And it goes through and shows a picture of the map. The illustration explains to you what's going on. Very nicely done. Easy to follow. Then you go on to emergency help. Nemo's motive. What his motives are in the game. Some games it's exploration, sometimes it's war, sometimes it's science, among others. Optional roles. And then rules for the earlier alluded to cooperative gameplay states or games. Epilogues. Having completed the scenario, you cross-index the type of motive Nemo has, whether it's war, exploration, science, etc. So if, for instance, you were defeated in exploration, shows a picture of Nemo, shows him that he doesn't really want to look you in the eye, and tells you that the defeat and what the impact is. So it's kind of a nice little touch, to be sure. Other books would have just, in the victory conditions, would have given you defeat and what that meant. Here they actually give you an illustration. Kind of a nice touch. You get essentially 3 1/3 counter sheets. These are various markers, and then yielding and seizing the captaincy. Data card. Ships. The counters are kind of a thick brown core. And here we have, let's see, the Cutty Sark. Pops out rather nicely. Got some nice bulk to it. Very nicely done. Nice big counters. And then the back side. I'll give you a better view of the front side of this one as well. You'll notice that on the front and back side there's different ships based on the era that's taking place. And your various motives: science, explore, war, and anti-imperialism is the 4th one. Please pause if you want to look at something a little longer. And then another sheet of mostly ships. Likewise on the back. You have different ships. The board. Nicely done. Mounted. Nice quality. It's interesting. It's rather long and not that wide. Kind of makes it a little easier on the solitaire player because things are potentially in easier reach than if the board was really wide across. So I think that's kind of a thoughtful decision that they made. And then up here, you have areas in the upper left for storing cards, which are just little boxes. You have your world map here, various sections, ship placement priority, removing uprising cubes, your random numbers to determine the particular oceans. Over here, you have adventure card test modifiers. You have up here collected treasures. You have a chart to keep track of information. The adventure deck goes up here. Your salvage, a handy sequence of play on the board, and your motives. All very nicely done. I don't know what the future of this game is. With the recent closing of Victory Point Games after it was purchased and the laying off of its staff as of the date of this video. But I might suggest that you try to get a hold of a copy of Nemo's War if you're interested, because its future is uncertain. I also picked up a expansion of Nautilus cards for continued Nautilus options and expansions. I may do a video on that once I get a better handle on this game in terms of playing and having played it some. And I may do a quick video on that to show what's included in that. Anyway, please like, comment, subscribe. This has been Blastpop. Bye.